Good news, everybody, or shall I say good olds for most of you in the community who is skeptical of what MSM tells us. Know that the Holocaust is indeed that. Hollow. Nothing truly happened, and it is cathartic to say that. And it's good to bring up children knowing that such an atrocity wasn't real to begin with. Now, this mind control mechanism was started on me at a young age, as I imagine it was for most everybody. And we were required to read literature and even, I believe, do art projects later on relating to this atrocity. And to even question such a thing when you're taught about it, and it feels wrong because you want to believe people are good, and they're telling you this to benefit you. A phrase that commonly gets thrown around is that if you don't know history, you're doomed to repeat it. So what this instills in you, if you can connect the dots, is this feeling that because the Holocaust existed, it is possible that it happens again because you didn't do your history and you became someone like Hitler who hates everybody. And not necessarily hates everybody, but hates anybody who's not of this very specific variety or whatever. It gets really ridiculous, and these people are all about divide and conquer. And it's sick to question these things, but when you know how bold their lies are, like they stamp their globe everywhere, and we all know the globe to be a pretty obvious farce based on a myriad of things, like the rainbow being a reflection off the firmament. We know that thunder echoes, and it wouldn't if we lived in a space vacuum. I don't believe in the mesosphere, atmosphere, stratosphere, etc. nonsense that they teach us. There is a firmament, and they're just laughing their butts off at their phony, parallel, nonsensical model. But that is how bold their lies are. And another one would be the day moon, of course. You can't. It's the nonsense they continue to spill on us every day, and I think, yeah, you do best to ignore it and know what it is and maybe even understand why they do it. But much beyond that, you've got to explore, you've got to find stuff out here, and we've got truths to share. So, anyways, Number of the Stars. This was one I believe we had to read when I was about 12 years old or something. And it's your standard story along these Holocaust tales where I believe this one takes place in Denmark. This young family, and I believe there's a Kristallnacht in this case, which is when it's just the night of the breaking glass. I could be wrong, but it's of similar ilk. Where if it wasn't the night of the breaking glass, where the Nazis would have came in and then taken Jewish people by force, it was the everybody lines up outside of their house in the morning, and then they get taken off to the concentration camps and maybe separated right there from their family forever. And these really nerve-inducing, scary stories. Hold on, my cat. apologies, he's not neutered. Um, but yeah, these scary stories, they start this way, where the family gets split up. There's maybe some things in the news about other areas around them having this happen, and then they themselves have it happen. And yeah, I mean, the whole build up, they lead you in with the relationships between all the characters, and you are enamored, or not necessarily enamored, but you're at least familiarized, and you find some sentimentality towards these people, um, some feeling towards these people, and they get split up, and then they go to these camps where they're forced to do manual labor and live in poor living conditions and not eat very well. Um, and then in many cases, they were simply burned. And there's so much depth into which camps do what kinds of burnings, and they go. We had to learn about all these various camps and where they were and how many people died where, and so forth. So this is one of those books. And another one I had to read a little bit later on was Night by Elie Wiesel. He actually, I mean, came to our, I believe it was middle school, um, and did a presentation. And yeah, I mean, a lie. I don't believe you, dude. And yeah, I remember vividly one scene, or I mean, a handful, but one particular one I'm thinking of, where he's running away from the Nazis. Apparently, they're going to a new base. Like, there's this war is going on, right? No, it's all this big theatrical production. It's not even, it's just someone writing it and going crazy off the rails. But yeah, this situation was the war was going on. The Allied forces, as we know them in the Americas, um, had seized the Nazi base, and they had to move this concentration camp because they didn't want them to be freed. So they had them running, and if they didn't maintain a steady pace, they'd shoot them. So you have this person, Elie Wiesel or whatever, running away, and there's just these images come to mind, and I've had dreams and nightmares because of this. And to know it's all just a sham is so relieving beyond measure. I mean, humanity doesn't do that. It's a different kind of. Satan's not like that. It's a little, just a liar, evil, disgusting liar. So then, this is kind of ironic. So this one, I mean, you guys will have to weigh in. I read Maus, which is a comic book, bright orange in the center. I mean, and we read this in college. So we get to the graphic novel, which is basically like these books, which we read when we were younger, but much simpler version, more succinct in college, like the dumbing down, just the internment mentality of this world where you need to worship these people and you can't question anything that they do, or just have the freedom to know that it's likely fake, and I'll give you reasons why, and you can make your own decisions. And I'm never going to be, overly vocal about this because it's just not a big deal. It happened 80 years ago. I wasn't nearly alive, but it's it's just part of their big theatrical production. It's one of the worst things that they've put on us. It's a psychotic thing to do. It's a messed up thing to think about. And then I could have queued up a video for this, but if you haven't seen German videos, Deutsch videos, Columbine series, yeah. The Diary of a Boy Named Frank. Yeah, this one is bandied about a lot. It's just a falsified document. Same idea. I mean, family has to hide, get split up, and it's just disgusting. And they do this to. I mean, it's a trick. It's how they are all. You're always in their corner. You're always saying like, well, they've had it rough. Well, they've been treated poorly wherever they go, and they had this whole genocide put on them. And yeah, why we learn about that genocide when there's other genocides going on, we'll get into that too. It's really pretty weird, but they really want to specify this one, and it's obvious why. So, plausible deniability. This is clearly, in my opinion, the Lecter report, Lecter report, whatever. This is the controlled opposition. So, what happened here was you had this guy, Ernst Zundel, who is this Canadian dude who's a German, and he doesn't believe in what was told about the Holocaust. He's like, there's no way the German people are too good. They're too like sweet, and I just doesn't make sense to me that they would go along with this and this would happen. And this Luchter report is basically this guy coming together with this Fred A. Luchter, Ernst and Fred A. Luchter coming together and going over to Germany and these places where these concentration camps were, and studying them, and coming away with analyses. And these analyses, they revealed that the Zyklon B, the poison that was supposedly used to gas the inmates, was actually a delousing agent, which means that it was used to remove parasites or other bugs, and that beyond that, the apertures, the hatches above where they would drop this gas, weren't even installed till after 1945, which is when the war ended. So it's a big theatrical production, and this is just if you're reading into it too deep, like the Lichter reports. So it's their controlled opposition, but in my opinion, it's the plausible deniability, where it's like, well, this says this, and here, like it's there's a reason why I can say that I don't believe in the Holocaust. And then, yeah, if you just search Shulamit Aloni, it's a trick. You should find it on YouTube. It's a video that is very revelatory to the attitude of these people, and yeah, just straightforward anti-Semitic. It's a trick. We always use it. It's what they use. It's exactly what I was saying before. Um, they put themselves in this position where they're the eternal victim, and you are unrightfully or unnecessarily, and how dare you even consider questioning them. Um, and it's just because they have the power, they have the press, they have the world in their dark midst. I mean, so yes, watch this video. I showed it to my family, and they had no really real response to it. They couldn't dismiss it. I mean, it's right there. And then look at this person. This person looks like they're going to be on the next Hocus Pocus. I mean, this looks like the elder witch who's gonna ride the broom with the horse lady. What's her name? Sarah Jessica Parker. So then, okay, furthermore, why do we have this? This is, you go on YouTube, you search the Grabbler, you'll find this Onion video. Why does this exist, this stereotype? So this takes me back. I remember being somewhere around 12, 13 years old, and being up the street at my buddy's house, and we were playing basketball. And I remember it was earlier in the day, and it was just him and I, and we were just shooting, and I threw up a shot, and it rolled around the rim a little bit, and then it went in. And he said, you got the Jew roll. And I remember thinking, like, whoa, that was like a bit much. Like, what does he mean? What is he talking about? And then I asked him, I was like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? He's like, oh, well, the Jews, just everything seems to go right for them. And yeah, this was for me the beginning of that, like that kind of stereotype of Jewish people having money and they are always connected, and you look at statistics, they have most people in Ivy Leagues and all this, and it's just like they'll argue or contend, oh, we're just the best. Or you look at Theodore Herzl, oh, we're just the best, and we need a Jewish state and all this. But it's this underlying, no, they only benefit themselves, and this tribalism. And I mean, it's not a difficult line to take. And I do think there's something to the reality of like orthodoxy, and like there's people that are happen to be Jewish and aren't like evil and so forth. But this, why does this meme exist? Because it's again, it's back to like the Hitler thing, like where um, the main reason he supposedly did what he did was the usury, where these Jewish people supposedly came in and were unrightfully taxing um, and bringing about debt on people unjustly. And then he was like, well, this is like vermin. There's nothing you can do. All they do is come in and ruin our whole society and diminish the spirit of our people. And but it's all a play, so it's kind of a weird psychological thing. And yeah, it's not the right answer. So just to further um, the obviousness of why um, this is a lie to me. I mean, okay, so this is the big conglomerate. This is probably the most successful business I know of, Walmart, and they take over towns, and they're notorious for having like basically cheap Chinese products, and then all the local businesses, mom and pops, go under because of Big Mama coming through Walmart. And what do you have right here? I mean, these are, I don't think this is on the old Walmart, but for a long time now, the symbol is very easily the six-sided Star of David, which is mostly associated with the Jewish people, Star of Remphan, whatever you want to call it, and it's on the big conglomerate. So who's the big corporate entity? It's right there in your face. And then many police badges are the Star of Remphan. It's who they serve. This is actually interesting. And then I didn't even notice this. That's the pedo sign. So they're like into pedo stuff, apparently, the police. I mean, we know that, but it just, I didn't know it was on their badge. That's a bit weird. So there's some legitimacy to this, and I know it's a big symbol, and people will contend with that, but it's telling. And maybe you can just think of the Star of David as the whole as above, so below inversion thing, and maybe that is the simpler route too. But Synagogue of Satan, inverting everything. Another thing is that Israel formed in, I believe, 1948, right after the war. That 6 million number, it's going to come up. So is Israel one of the richest countries in the world? In 2022, Israel had a total wealth of 1.36 trillion. Israel makes it to our list of the wealthiest countries by per capita net worth. So it is a super wealthy country, if not the wealthiest country in the world. And how does that make sense? You're telling me that this population that was decimated and needs to come back, they form this new nation, and then all of a sudden they're like the highest, or like up there, way up there, in terms of their economy. I mean, it's possible, sure, but I think that all signs point to this just being them being blunt and lying in your face about what they do, and there's nothing you can do about it because they have the money, the numbers, and all that. So back to the essence of the Holocaust. So it's interesting in the sense that you look at genocides in general, and they don't get these like specific titles usually. I mean, there are a few other Holocausts apparently, but this is the big one I knew about growing up, and usually it is called a genocide. So here, the Greek word holocaustos, or its more common variant holokautos, compound composed of holos, adjective, whole, entire, complete in all its parts, burnt, red, and hot. So burnt through and through, something wholly burnt up. So people, obviously burnt in the oven. So there's that idea. That's more afterwards. They would gas them and then burn them, and then burn them after they had gassed them. And it's a sick thing, and they made this footage, and they likely used dummies and actors, and it's not like this is all very straightforward, like what you would do to make a scary horror movie type thing. I mean, if you think about it, this is probably a big Hollywood production that went on in the 40s. And what's actually going on, I mean, probably just the Masons doing nonsense in general, probably just like rolling around the grocery stores asking for your money for the war and who knows what. But lots of bullshit to be sure. I mean, what are we going through right now with this COVID stuff? I mean, it basically could be a war. I mean, we were in the Middle East before. We're always there. We're always at war with the Middle East in my lifetime. This is like freaking ridiculous. But yeah, this here's the idea of the word, and then yeah, the state of Israel. So this 6 million, right? The 6 million number. I can't recall if it's the Talmud or the Torah. The Torah, which quote unquote holy text of the Jewish people, claims that 6 million must be sacrificed to form state, their holy state. But yeah, after World War II, when you had this 6 million number that's were supposedly killed, we have the Jewish state of Israel formed, and then they have all this money, and they're amazing, right? It just feels like we've been doing this thing over and over again, and they just keep it going in different forms and write new stories. And I don't know. There's like somebody who's like 100 years and they have the key and they know all the knowledge, and then there's like degrees of masons, and they get like maybe a few more years if they of knowledge if they raise higher in the ranks, and who cares, like you're selling your soul to this nonsense. Anyways, the 6 million number is constantly brought up, if not in just the Talmud and the Torah. Here I looked up a Reddit. The idea of that figure for 6 million is something of a trope or a catchphrase that's been used before and then adopted, sloganized, etc. Done a little bit of digging, and it seems that at least some of the quotes given seem to be correct. 6 million living, bleeding, suffering arguments in favor of Zionism. While there are in Russia and Romania 6 million Jews who are being systematically degraded, it's just kind of a joke. It's like, oh, we run the news, haha, look at our friends over here and all around the world, 6 million, 6 million, 6 million. So again, on this idea of the Holocaust, what that means, passing through the fire, doesn't it sound like holy burnt up? So could this be just a giant play of that, just representing like the kind of physical hell they go through? It's like they're gonna put that on us psychologically. I don't know, it's just a thought. And then yeah, back on something I referenced earlier. um, we didn't really learn about other genocides, and that's strange. That's very strange. So I actually wound up finding this. And I knew about this when I was younger, but like we really didn't talk about it much in school. I don't even know if we referenced it, but someone I was friends with was like into Russia or just knew more about Russia and referenced them. And I had known about them since I was like a teen, but I didn't research them until I was maybe in my early 20s or late teens. And yeah, apparently there were more people that died than the 6 million, like 20 million or something, out in Russia and the gulags, which essentially are concentration camps, internment camps. And I mean, I think that's a play too. I would Nobel Prize. I mean, it's their whole institution. It's all fake. So it's just more nonsense psychology. But I guess why they want us on the Holocaust maybe is just the arrogance of the word. It equals 33 hollow cost, as I keep saying, empty cost for their 6 million. They just can. It's just them writing stuff. They know their whole pen is mightier than the sword. They don't need to fight. They just can write whatever they want, and then that's what happens, and people are just like, okay, but not really. They know it's either fake, they either question it, or they're like, well, I guess it's real, and they're psych. Again, I believe this for a while. I believe this for a lot of my life, and I feel embarrassed. I mean, people talk about how they have various aspects of truth that they're kind of embarrassed to admit about. Like some people, they might be embarrassed about their adherence to academia and thinking about like their love of the whole idea of the planets and the globe and the endless solar systems with throughout the universe and all this crazy sci-fi bullshit. But like for me, I was never that enthralled with the idea of outer space because there is this whole idea of it, so much of it being, well, if you take your suit off, you're gonna die, and it just caustic and dangerous, and just nonsensical environment. I'm not into it, and yeah, it's relieving to know how ridiculous it is. But yeah, for me, I feel this way about this. I was really into this Holocaust nonsense, and I took a class in college. Like I said, read that Mouse book, and I thought it was funny that there are two. Just to make this connection whole, this is good. This is good. There are two classes that I had serious mishaps in when I was in college. Technically three. The third one was calculus. I don't know, but the other two, then the two were representing the Holocaust and astronomy. Okay, so the astronomy one, I completely forgot we had an exam. I don't know why I blanked on it, but we had an exam and I was not prepared at all for it. And I think that is utterly hilarious because it's made up stuff. They're talking about light and it's ridiculous. Black holes and what it's sci-fi Star Trek ridiculousness. And the other one was, like I said, representing the Holocaust. I turned in the final exam. We had to write a paper. I got an A plus or A or whatever on the paper, but I turned it in late, so I didn't get I didn't do as well as I ought to have. Yeah, like barely passed the class when I would have done like great. And I just find it funny looking back, where it's like at the time I was a little bit let down, but now I laugh and I think, wow, isn't that God laughing and chuckling because this college was such a nonsensical experience and they're teaching you fake stuff, so don't, it's not worth anything, it's artificial, it's counterfeit. So yeah, this is great news, guys. A little good news from Anne Murray here. Nobody robbed a liquor store in the lower part of town. Nobody OD'd. Nobody burned a single building down. Fade. Nobody fired a shot in anger. Nobody had to die in vain. We sure could use a little good news today. And Anne Murray, kind of doing a little bit of as above, so below there. I don't know what's going on with you, but I will agree. This is a little good news. The Holocaust is likely a farce, and I'm gonna say it is a farce. And you can reference this video, and you can look into the various things I talked about, and it's open, it's all there for you, and you can speak your mind, and it's a free world supposedly. If we have freedom of speech, we can say these things, and yeah, walk about confidently and spread the word.